What's up, everyone? Welcome to a very special Tuesday, Christmas Eve, Tint Wisdom. And for today's special Christmas Eve edition, I have Max with me. Max was one of the first guests we had on the Tint Wisdom Thursday episodes, and he's back today, and he's back with good reason, two good reasons. So one being a topic he wanted to expand upon that we spoke about last time. And then another one being the explanation of why he's on the road and what he has planned for his business this year. And I'm excited to have him tell you both of those things. So without further ado, let's get started. Max, welcome and thank you for joining today.
What's going on, guys? How's everything going? So absolutely. The two topics. I went back and I listened to that Thursday podcast, and from that Thursday podcast, I realized that you had asked me a question like, hey, if somebody wants to start a window film business, how would one get started? And I kind of went over that. Like, I didn't necessarily answer the question. I gave you all the reasons why you should do, marketing and all this, but I didn't really go into like the steps. So I wanted to kind of elaborate on that.
Okay.
That was on one thing.
Let's do it. Perfect. I know that's a helpful topic because I'm sure there's countless amount of tinters that are looking to get into residential window film this year. And what better time to get this information out than, the start of the year.
100%.
So let's do it.
100%. So I think, like, if you're an auto guy, one of the biggest things you should start doing is you should start offering the services to your existing customers. I know we're on the Tint Wisdom, so I want to express how important it is to manage customer information and utilize that to your best advantage, because it's a huge advantage having customer information such as name, email, phone number, and even the ticket value. One thing that Tint Wiz has helped us with is it's really helped us kind of manage the ticket values, the customer information, so we can repurpose that information to target that customer, for additional services that we offer. I mean, ultimately, the name of the game is collecting that data and reusing it. So that being said, cross-marketing. So your lowest hanging fruit is your existing customer base. So what I would do is I would contact your existing customers via email and just make them aware of, the common challenges that people experience, right? So I would create an email series via Constant Contact, MailChimp. There's several different services out there that are going to give you this automation. Setting that up is going to be something where you can continue to operate your automotive business and not necessarily just target flat glass. It could just be an expansion of your existing business. I would say that would be step one, as just being the lowest hanging fruit.
So just to recap, that was a great amount of information. And what you're saying, if I'm hearing correctly and understanding correctly, is if you're looking to get into flat glass from automotive, the best place to start is, making your current automotive customers aware of your flat glass services. And to do that, you need obviously to be well organized with your customer information. And you're suggesting email is a very easy and automated way potentially to get that, to make contact with the customer. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. I would say, and the reason why I'm saying automate it instead of just doing it yourself is if you were to break down an automotive business as far as automotive window film, the average dealer is going to see about 1,600 customers, right? This is a two-man operation. They're going to see about 1,600 say customers or vehicles within the course of a year. You're not going to go back, like, realistically speaking, you're not going to go back and you're not going to write each person an individualized email of, hey, thank you so much for your business. I wanted to let you know we also offer this additional service. That's unreasonable, right? With a system like any CRM, any system, preferably Tint Wiz, the reason why is because it's literally what I use. So I'm not going to give you advice and try to give you a path, a direction to go if you're looking to get into flat glass that I haven't done or explored myself. So this is something that we do in
emailing now, right? This is something you're currently doing that we're working for you.
Yeah. So what I'm doing right now is every time we get customer contact information, we send off a proposal. That customer is automatically within an automated email campaign that just, hey, thank you so much for your interest in window tinting, window film graphics, so on and so forth. And then the secondary step is when they click those links, and this might be a little bit more complicated, something you can YouTube and find out, or you can reach out to me. I'm happy to give you that information. But anytime they click on, say, there's three different topic lists. There could be like solar control, then it could be decorative, and then there could be like security film. And if they click on that particular one, say they click on security film, that customer is then input into that category of, say, security film interest. And then they go into another campaign that gives them 10 different articles that they can read in succession. It's a drip campaign that will then explain to them all the benefits security film has for office, for their home, scenarios, case studies, so on and so forth, just further educating. So like, I feel like the start is to educate your customer and present them the likelihood or the probability of this type of issue happening, because it happens and we see it on a day-to-day basis. I think the one thing that I feel like the window film industry, much like any other industry, they get really tunnel vision and they have this belief that everybody knows your product, your services, the complexities of the installation, so on and so forth, and all the problems it solves. It's not true. They don't know anything about window film. So it's our job as professionals to explain to them all of the scenarios that they haven't really thought about. Maybe they got broken into, but they thought about bars, or they thought about different security options, but never seen window film as an option. And maybe that's the option they're potentially looking for, but didn't know it exists. So what better way to provide this information for free and be that resource for information? And that in itself is kind of like a deposit for trust, right? So like, if you're constantly making these deposits for trust in your email campaign and you're educating this customer, all of a sudden they're going to want to do business with you because you're the expert, right?
Yep.
To kind of give you like a quick encapsulation of what we're doing right now is we're developing trust with you as you're listening by explaining to you what we do on a day-to-day basis and what's helped us grow our business. And in turn, if you ever give, Tint Wiz a shot, reach out to me if you need any sort of advice, or Eric or anyone. This is a deposit of trust and it's absolutely free. Like, you're not paying for this. You're just listening to the advice, and you can take the little bits that you want and you want to implement, or you don't want to implement, or that you even want to have a conversation on, and go from there. But ultimately, I think it's all about helping each other kind of grow as far as a business. But that would be step one, is definitely get yourself in a position where you're utilizing your existing customers.
Sure. Okay. So once, first of all, I think that's great advice. And, I think like if the automated part of it overwhelms you, you can get started in some manual ways at first and then work your way towards automation. But the important part is, I think that Max said, is, using your existing customers as your customer base, because that's going to cost you nothing except a little bit of effort and a little organization. And of course, that leads to, an entrance into business, into a whole nother business, as opposed to spending money on ads and hoping to recover that, ad money. Now, Max, what would you say, someone's to start this, they start to get residential and commercial inquiries. What are some physical things or some other things they should expect if they're coming from the automotive end that they need to prepare for? One example, I guess, that I think of, or a couple examples, would be like, an automotive tinter isn't used to having to drive to locations, so might not even have like a van, because they're not used to carrying around 72-inch rolls of film. So a vehicle, a way to carry big rolls of film, and what else, I guess? What else comes to mind that you think is important for a beginner?
I would say do what everyone's not doing and what a big business typically fails in accomplishing, because the overhead is so large, right? So like, I'll give you an example. Home Depot doesn't send out technicians to give you an idea of what it would potentially cost. They subcontract it out to someone to go out to you, because they can't afford the cost of going out, taking measurements, and then giving you, the recommendation. So I would say, like, one thing I didn't kind of do on a daily basis, because I wanted to set a minimum bar, because I wanted to earn money, right? Is I didn't go and visit every single console. I would pre-qualify them over the phone. Bad. Don't do that.
And that's something that comes a lot of differences of opinion come up on that topic, strong differences of opinion. A lot of people think they know their customers. They've been doing this for so long, they just can tell.
You don't. Like, look, no one knows anyone until, like, you have to have that intimate conversation. And I feel like when you go out and you present the consultation, look, you're not going to know what type of like glass it is. They can tell you it's single pane. You come out, it's dual pane. Now there's a withdrawal, right? There's figure it to one concept. There's either a deposit for trust and a withdrawal for trust. Every time you go out of your way, you are making a deposit to build that trust. So if you're going out and you're doing a consultation, you're telling them the type of glass, you're showing them the samples, you're metering it, they're seeing the meter. It's no longer just sticky side to glass or film on glass that has a very low value to them because they can buy it at Home Depot for $50. Now it is a process that is professionally installed, and you're going to earn more money per square foot having taken that additional step, that additional effort. So I would say visit every single one, develop a process of how you want to sell, because how you sell and how somebody else sells could be totally different. It's the system that you develop that's going to be controlled, and that as you grow, you then have standards of how things should be done. And that ultimately makes your business a lot more organized, a lot more manageable, especially if you have the goal of, give you an example, what I'm doing, give you the goal of not being there to manage the business, but be on the road and manage the business. So and that's on topic two.
That's a perfect transition into the other topic, which was what you're doing on the road, what you have planned for this year, because I think it is such a unique plan and I think it's so generous of you to come on and share the plan. Not only just share the advice you just shared, because really, like, what do you get out of sharing that advice? You know, you're telling people in the industry, like, but you're doing good. You're doing good for the human race, for the tint industry, and so on. And yeah, anyway, I think you're very generous with your advice, and thank you for being generous with this story, because this is something that I'm excited about. So I'll shut up, and please tell us what you've planned.
So I recently moved out of my place. I've got it rented out. And my whole goal was, I put myself in a position where I had to manage the business on a day-to-day basis. I went out and did the consults. I have installers that go out and do the installations. They're awesome installers. But I want to bring them to a role that now they can manage not only the consultation, but also the installation side. Therefore, giving them, depositing more trust for them to actually manage that side of the business and take the authority and move, steps into the business, move into my position. Ultimately, I'm replaceable within my own business. It's literally the way that I want to build this. I don't want to be what happens is a lot of business owners get stuck in their own, they inhibit themselves from growing because they hold the keys to everything that goes on to the business. And if you're believing that you have to do the graphics, you have to do the install, you have to do the consult, you have to do this, I promise you, if you didn't exist, somebody else would do it. I promise you that. Like, someone's going to take care of it. So put it into a system that somebody else can take over. So with that said, my plan this year was to get out of my place, get on the road, and spend hopefully the majority of this year on the road managing the business from remote locations. I want to do a lot more traveling at Yosemite National Parks and really focus on the marketing side of the business, writing more content, developing more videos, talking more like this, and having these conversations with architects and engineers. And what happens, I think, on the commercial side more specifically, is that there's a lot more communication that happens with architects and engineers to get your film spec'd in, to get your film to meet their guidelines. That's half the battle. That's like 90% of the battle, right? I would say 90%, not half. I'd say 90% of it is done via phone, via emails, via meetings with architects and engineers for these larger projects. And 10% is the installation. 10% is just, here's your reward after the fact, right? Here's your reward after all of this work, after all this speccing, after the energy modeling, everything. The reward is now you get to do the job. And if I can do more of that, and I can manage that, from a remote location, I can dedicate myself solely to that, which inevitably grows my business and it doesn't hinder it. I feel like going to each one of the consultations, while I might have a higher conversion rate, what tends to happen is I get in the way of my own growth in the company. If if I didn't go out and do every consultation, I wouldn't be as good as at the conversion rate. So if I allow one of my installers to go out and learn this and fail forward, right? And learn the process, it's very hard to now double. So now I've made it easier because I'm out of the way. So
Right.
that's my plan. Hit the road, build the business from the road. It's totally possible. And if it's not possible, I'll let you know in a year. But I have all the hope and all the confidence in the guys and in the business to do so.
So the idea is you're going to be operating your business from a state that your business is not in.
Yep.
And then possibly, you mentioned a van?
Yeah, so I drove out a truck here. I'm thinking about getting a Sprinter van.
Where are you?
So just right now, I'm in Rome, Oregon. So we drove through California, through the Sierra Nevadas, through yesterday, and came into, where did we stay? Fallon, Nevada last night, and then made another trek up here. We're going to end up in Meridian, Idaho. And then I'm going to, after Meridian, go do some snowboarding up in Coeur d'Alene, maybe Banff, Canada, maybe Canada. I don't know. We'll see. We got a few consults this week too. We got a couple installations beginning of January. We've already landed a really decent deal. We got 80,000 square feet over the course of 2020. So a lot of good things happening, man. I feel like definitely a lot of work on the back end from a marketing standpoint, from an automation standpoint that makes it possible.
So when you look at this plan, is there anything that stands out to you as, maybe what's going to be the biggest challenge that you're anticipating during this transition? Is there?
I think there's only one thing, and it's more psychological. I feel like any business owner's feeling, especially those that want to take full control of their business, is the ability to go fix it themselves. I think proper effective, not proper, but effective communication and really listening and understanding what's the problem, what's the solution, and not going against the grain more so, just kind of going and just trying to solve problems and thinking about those problems on an individual basis is going to be the hardest thing, because I have a tendency to just want to jump in and fix the problem myself. And now it's essentially giving somebody else the opportunity to fix that problem themselves and just guiding them through it myself. Now, is there going to be challenges? Absolutely. And I plan on sharing those challenges on the podcast. So podcast Tint Talks, I went ahead and started that back up again. I'm going to definitely post more and more. RC Window Films podcast. We're going to do a podcast really talking about the films, the challenges that we encounter on a daily basis. Didn't mean to plug that, by the way.
Why not? Why not? So those are two podcasts that they can people can go listen to right now. They're both on iTunes. One is RC Window Films. That one is more, I guess, describe them, because there's Tint Talks and there's RC Window Films, and there's episodes of both of those available now.
Yeah, so Tint Talks, I just wanted to talk about the business and just kind of rant, to be honest with you. Explain some of the challenges, just what I see within as an industry scope. And then RC Window Films is very specific to solutions for issues that we encounter on a day-to-day basis and how we solve them, or even asking the opinions of others and how they would solve them. And then talking to architects and engineers and trying to develop a dialogue with them on, hey, in this particular project, what did we see? How did we correct it? What was the outcome? And I feel like I would have learned so much more over the course of the last 2 years had that resource been available to me. And I just want to make that available to others.
Sure. Well, that's great. I've listened to them. They have incredibly high quality audio and content to them. So I definitely recommend them.
Appreciate
both.
it. Appreciate
it. They're seriously exceptional. So
go ahead.
Go ahead.
So I wanted to jump back a little bit on topic number one, because we talked a lot about the automation of the existing customers, developing maybe an email campaign. I would say the second thing you should do is don't look at money or capital as, and I know a lot of us do. I did so much in the beginning of my business. I looked at it as an expense, not as an investment. And what one thing that was told to me is What if you spent an extra $10 and that was the amount that needed to like land two more customers? Because we always see it as an opportunity. Like if I see 100 go out, 200, 300 in a day go out, you're kind of like, oh man, dude, like I just wasted $300. You don't see that as a potential increase in the business. You see that as an expense. So what I think you should do is set a budget that you can definitely pay every month and never look at it. Get somebody on your team or reach out to a company that does PPC campaigns, right? Pay-per-click campaigns, and market on Google, Bing, and Yelp definitively. I'm talking definitively. Keep that year round on. So we dedicate anywhere between 1,000. I don't want to give you guys the exact number, right? But like ultimately, it doesn't matter. It's just based on your budget. So it can be anywhere between 300 all the way up to 10,000, 20,000, depends on the size of your company. But focus in your area, focus within 25 miles. And if you guys want, there's tons of resources online on YouTube that you can, plug in a PPC campaign and kind of just start. The thing is start. I guarantee you that in your business today, you didn't know everything that you know today if you were to go back 5 years, 10 years. In my case, 2 years ago has been a huge learning curve for me. I went to Eric being Eric Devash. I went to you, 2 years ago going, man, I'm killing it on Google. I'm doing so good. And then, we had a quick sit down. And when I looked at it, I'm like, oh, this is not good. This is horrible. I'm not getting I'm not doing it the right way. So reach out to those that reach out to a company that you feel like you can trust and try everything. Because if you fail at the point in saying, you know what, I just don't want to spend $500, what's going to happen is I just had a guy 2 weeks ago tell me, Max, I have to make $2,000 a day. I go, great. Are you marketing on Google? He goes, no. I go, okay, so you're not marketing on Google, which is $1,000 a month, but you're willing to lose $15,000 a month because you're only making $1,000 per day. So if you were to think like, if he's only making $1,000 every single day and he needs to make $60,000, so he's willing to take a $30,000 hit instead of spending just an additional $1,000 a month. That's crazy to me. So you have to see your marketing efforts as it's going to pay off. Just continue. $12,000 in the grand scheme of things over the course of a year is nothing.
Well, I think obviously like the big barrier there is, as most people are going to see it as, they're going to feel like I can't risk that money because they're not sure they're going to get a return, right? And what you're saying is you have to persist, even if it's going to cost you some money. There is a reward at the end of that trail, so you have to start moving down that trail and figure it out.
100%. Yeah. It's almost like, you know what? Don't buy any rolls of film at all ever until you have a customer. And then when they show up to your shop, you have to then wait 2 days for the film to get there. That customer is going to be gone. They're going to go somewhere else where they have the film. So same thing goes for the marketing efforts. Put it in. I promise you it'll pay back. Even if it pays itself off and it gives you more exposure, it's worth it.
So, and I have my opinion on this, but I know my opinion. I want to hear yours. Where would you suggest somebody starts? Like, I'm talking baby steps. Like right now they're saying, hey, I have no idea what this guy Max just talked about, but it sounds right. I need to do cost per click. I need to do Google ads. I need to invest some money. How do you literally start? And then how do you know it's working, it's not working? What should they expect, I guess, the first week, the first month?
I would say the first thing, the easiest way to do it at the lowest cost would be to, one thing, you want to track it. So anything in marketing is tracked, right?
Sure.
So
sorry about that.
Sorry, a little feedback. So I would say like the very first thing you should do is to go to Google Voice and buy at least 3 numbers, right? Those numbers are then going to tell you phone numbers. What you do is you set up, say, a Yelp, right? Say you put a Yelp, you can put Yelp anywhere. You can set up in like for us, you can set up anywhere. Pick your city and then pick like 5 neighboring cities. So now you have a total of 6, right? And each one of those Yelps, if Yelp actually shows the highest conversion for us for the lowest amount of calls, right? So say we get 10 calls, we might convert 7 out of those 10 because they're highly qualified leads. That customer is looking for your particular business. That's why they're calling, right? So that said, associate a number per location, right? Or just associate that number to all of the Yelp marketing. right? So if you're going to spend $200 per location, spend $200 per location, associate one number to all 6 locations for Yelp advertising campaigns, advertising efforts. Now, every call that comes in from that number, you can then say, this came from Yelp. And you can
So
look back. Go ahead.
first step is getting some phone numbers and then starting to use those phone numbers to track the different places leads can come from. So the most important thing you're saying is know where your leads are coming from, yeah?
Know where your leads are coming from, because then you'll know how to spend your money. If you know what the return is, then you can't place it on, oh, well, this one was a drive-by, or this one was this, or rely on the customer for giving you accurate information. Now you know directly, like, this number was generated off of Yelp because it's not posted anywhere else, right? That's one. And then two, I would say, like, if I had to start all over again, I would have only done Yelp to begin with. And I would have really maximized my efforts with Yelp, and then I would have moved on to Google Ads. And then once you do Google Ads, and once you figure that out, feel free to give me a call. Feel free to hit me up on Tint Talks. I market a separate company. I've helped out a couple businesses with this as well. And not trying to say, like, I want to do it for you, because you can do it yourself. You can definitely go do this. Yeah, go
Let's
ahead.
back up to Yelp. You're saying if you could do it all over again, you would focus first on Yelp and then move to Google. By focusing first on Yelp and completely focusing on Yelp, what do you mean? Because all I hear is how bad Yelp is from everybody except my own voice. So I'd love to hear what you have to say.
So look, Yelp wants you to spend as much money as possible, and they develop every other way to monetize their platform. That's okay, because ultimately it leads to a return on investment. I spend right now about $250 with Yelp on one location. In that one location, over the course of the last year, it's made us $37,000. That's a hard number, and I'm happy to prove it to you guys. If you want to reach out to me, I'll send that over to you. Send you a screenshot. The way I track that is I track it based on the calls that came in. I have a separate system that just tracks the calls that came in, and from those calls, we can associate a dollar figure. So we know, hey, this is how much this actually converted and earned us money. So if I spend $250, figure that by 12, subtract the difference. That's your profitability from that one avenue. So the reason I say, because Yelp just gives you, is our highest converting. That's all it is. Now, regardless of the reviews is why people are upset with Yelp. That's why they're upset. And they want to call you because they want more money. They want you to spend more money. That's it. They're high converting, so it's worth it. That's the reason why they're calling you. It's just, oh, okay, sorry about that. Everything good?
It's a little rough.
Okay. So
I think we're getting back there. Go ahead.
Okay. So ultimately, they want you to spend more money because it's a higher converting dollar value, right? Like it just makes more sense. If I'm only spending $250 a month and I'm getting back $37,000, that's a significant amount. That's a decent return on investment. I can do that. I'll do that all day long, no problem. Every year, right?
Sure.
There's a plateau point, right? When we started spending upwards of $700, $800, at least for us in our particular market, it kind of didn't really pan. Like, I wasn't getting as much of a return, I felt, right? Like, per month. So I dialed it back down to 250, and that's just been the sweet spot for us, right? I figured additional locations was going to give me more of a return on investment. So that's the reason why I'm telling you, maybe open up in your more popular cities, or your say more expensive demographic. So like, if I'm in a city of like LA, maybe I want to focus on, like, say, Orange County, Newport area. Maybe there's more expensive homes if you're doing residential in that area, right? Ultimately, just focus on the areas that you're going to get the best bang for your buck. You're going to get the best return on investment.
So going all in on Yelp is
100%. And look, treat your Yelp customers. You'll know who they are because you know the number that they called off of. Treat them like gold. Tell them, hey, I see that you're a Yelp user. That in itself acknowledges that they're a Yelper, which they feel proud of. So it's like, hey, is there anything, go above and beyond and practice that. And I promise you, that's going to be huge for your business. Done. I mean, don't look at it like, oh man, these guys keep bugging me, because bug me all you want. At the end of the day, it's bringing in the dollar value. It's keeping food on my table. It's helping keep my employees paid. Like, that's worth it. Don't worry about it. Just move on and, like, see how you can optimize it to your best benefit.
So, have you had to deal with the most common complaint that people have with Yelp, which is they filter the reviews? Has
Yeah,
that
yeah,
been
it
any
happens
sort of
all the
issue
time.
for you, or?
Yeah, absolutely. We have like 14, 15 that are filtered. We only have about 20 reviews, but ultimately, like, look, it's a paid system. It's something that works. Like Gary Vee had said something like, social media is free, but people still have a way to bitch about it. Look, it's
Right.
their system. Who cares? Like, get more reviews, right? Find a way that every customer can get. Like, this is the game, guys. Like, everybody's trying to eat your lunch, right? We deal with that on a day-to-day operation as a business owner. So, like, you have to get better at the game. You can bitch about it, but let me tell you something. Is it going to solve your problem? I hate Yelp. Okay, great. Don't make any money with Yelp. But this doesn't solve your problem of
Right.
getting more leads, getting more business. So as much as you hate it, you could either optimize to get better within that system, which is the best case scenario for you because bitching isn't going to solve anything.
Yep. Yep. Well said. So, just to kind of recap, as a new flat glass tinter, someone looking to get in or really get it off the ground, first things first is contact your existing customer base, and for auto tint or whatever other services you provide. And second is go all in on Yelp. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Is
I
there
think like high conversion, Yelp, lowest hanging fruit when it comes to your existing customers because they really like you, trust you, and want to do business with you and have.
and then after that is Google Ads.
Google Ads. And then really Google Ads is a little bit more specific. I would say, consult with a company who does it or look it up on YouTube and really dive into it. And if you don't have that time, hire somebody to do it. Look, the easiest path is not about learning the intricacies of your independent business. The best way I can describe this to you is that I'm not comparing myself, but like Steve Jobs doesn't know how to put together like the iPhone. I don't think he knows every little tiny like the whole system. But what he does know how to do is build a really good team. And you don't have to be the expert in everything within your business. What you have to do is you got to get people that are really good at their job and let them do their job so you can focus on continuing to build your team. Because
Sure.
ultimately, as a business owner, you're the leader and you have to be really good at building your team. So build your team. And from there, everything else will pan out. And just be decisive. A good business owner just knows when to get off a dying horse. So, like, if the first month, second month, third month, I would give everything 3 months. If it's not working, pivot, go to
Mhm.
somebody else. So, like, choose a company you want to do business with, give them ultimate transparency and ultimate trust, have the controls in place so you can actually see your profits. That's the reason why I'm telling you to associate a number so you can actually track the calls that are coming in. And if
Mhm.
those calls don't increase on their particular marketing efforts, so like say Google, you just give them a 1-800 number, and that's the number that's associated with all your Google advertising. If that marketing company, for example, didn't give you, say, the promise of, say, 30 calls per month, well, guess what? Pivot, go with somebody else. But now it's something you can track, not just to say, well, I tried it and then it didn't work for me, so I'm never going to do it again. If you want to suffice to that, somebody's going to eat your lunch.
That's like a just an excuse to quit, basically, an excuse
Yeah.
not to an excuse not to do it. I think you touched on an extremely valuable point that I want to talk about for the rest of the year, and I've been talking about, and I want to talk about now, and I want to get your thoughts on, which is, um, you know, I think everybody should be looking at their business as a team of people, even if it's just themselves or even if it's just a team of two. And what I mean by that is, separating all the different positions in the business and then identifying which ones you are doing, which ones maybe other people are doing, and then which ones do you fit best into. So what I mean by that is some tint shop owners, they pride themselves in their actual window film installation. They pride themselves in cutting that glass. They want that perfect shaved edge. They love every bit of that. And maybe their strength isn't talking on the phone, or maybe their strength isn't talking to a customer, but maybe they do it as well. Or maybe they
Yeah.
like talking to the customer. They like installing film, but they don't like answering emails and so on. And what I'm saying is, it's easy when it comes to like accounting to say, I'll just get an accountant, someone else will do my taxes. Well, why don't you do it yourself? Most of the time it's because you're saying, hey, I have an option. I can pay an expert to do it. It makes more sense. Well, you can apply that same logic to every part of your business and put yourself in the role that you enjoy most and you can get most out of, instead of doing all the roles of the business or doing whichever ones are just left over.
Yes, and most of the time, what's going to tend to happen is that you're going to be really, really good at one position, much like what everybody else is really, really good at. I think like I'm not a good guitarist. I'm never going to be a good guitarist because I don't put enough effort into it, and it's not something I'm passionate about. So ultimately, you have to leave positions that are available for those that want to like fully grow in that position, and that's what they love to do. Because ultimately, if you love to do what it is that you're doing, you're going to end up being the best at it. I mean,
Yeah.
and it only helps the collective. A business is simply a collective of people towards one goal, right? So if you're putting everybody in their most advantageous position, what tends to happen is you're going to grow your company to the point where you didn't even think it's possible. You talk to
Right.
anybody that's in a higher position, as far as a CEO, manager, operator, owner, whatever, uh, they got to a position where they realized that, you know what, I can't do this by myself. You're only going to be so big by yourself. You can do
Right.
it, but then you have to consider what's my goal. A lot in working with Interwest Distribution and 3M Manufacturing Company, one thing that I saw a lot of times was a business owner would say, I'm burnt out, man. I'm tired. They've been doing it by themselves for the last 20 years. No wonder they're tired.
Doing
I
everything.
mean, you're doing everything like that. I mean, the level of stress in that is incredible. Imagine if you let yourself, as you said back at the International Window Film Conference. Imagine how you would operate if you got 40. If you only operated at 100% capacity for 60% of the time, and then allowed your 40% of the time to really think, forward thinking of the problems that you can solve, that then can scale your business an additional 10, 20, 30% that following year. Just have that downtime so you can really think out your problems before your potential issues, your potential obstacles. So really think about it, develop a plan, and then execute. If you're constantly
Right.
solving problems on a daily basis, you're never growing.
Right. Yeah. Managing your business, managing the future of your business, managing all the different moving parts and optimizing those things. That's a job in itself that does require some time. And if you don't have any time left in the day to do that, then, um, you know, I don't think you just, how could you go far that way? You know what I
Guys,
mean?
there's a reason why there's a CEO, chief operating officer, right? Chief executive officer. At the end of the day, his sole job is to lead the pack and think at a much higher level of where you're going to go in 5 years and 10 years, not necessarily what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. If you're managing a warehouse, for example, and you ship products all over the world, you're not going to be the guy that's sitting in that warehouse shipping across product and not figuring out the logistics of how you're getting it to every place. There's a lot more at stake. So what I'm saying is your time is better utilized managing your business, not letting it manage you. So build a system
Right.
that operates. If you're a one-man shop, get as much automation within your business that's going to help it grow to the point where you need an additional person. You can't do it by yourself. You have
Right.
to you have to put yourself in a position where your back is kind of against the wall and you have to go up. There's no other way but up, right? It's like up is going to be where that ceiling is, right? And then you can break through the
Mhm.
ceiling. But if you put yourself in a position where you're always comfortable and you're just managing that day to day, you're doing yourself a disservice and you're not going to grow the company to its full potential. I mean, I always want to realize the full potential of the company aside from myself, because ultimately my goal would be either not operate the business and act as an owner and just take a small share, right? Like as far as profitability in the next 20 years, or it would be to like sell the company as a whole and go from there. And sell the company as a whole, take my profit. That was hard work for 20 years and somebody else can continue that business or sell it off to employees. But have a plan. Like my plan isn't to sit behind a squeegee for the rest of my life. It's not what I envision myself in the next 20 years, right? So figure that out first and then everything else will play out.
And you mentioned like especially like one man shops, one man shops, how automation is so important and efficiency is so important. And that's kind of a topic that comes up from time to time where sometimes small shops, these one man operations feel like to touch on like Tint Wiz, they'll feel like, I don't need a system like that. I'm not big enough. I just, I'm a one man operation. And the funny part about that is, obviously it's clear why a big shop would need systems in place. Just because it's a big shop, it has a lot of moving parts. But it's super clear, at least to me, why a one-man operation also needs those systems in place, because that one person is responsible for everything. So being efficient, I mean, is utmost important because they only have 24 hours in the day. That's it. They don't have 48. They don't have 3 hands or 4 hands. They have 2 hands, 48 hours. So, or 24 hours rather. So at that one man operation, efficiency becomes even more and more and more important for you, you know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Essentially, and then you got to look at the numbers. I love numbers, right? All right. So if every, say, automotive dealer does about 1,600 cars, how many, and you've been in business 20 years, how many potential customers do you have in your database? Your database isn't necessarily in your head. It's the customers that you can prove. So in the legal system, it's not about what you know. It's about what you can prove. It's the same thing in business. It's not about what you're showing as far as numbers, because I can show great numbers, right? I can show great profitability. It's about what do I have? What are the assets for the business? That's what really quantifies a business, right? And the revenue you can really prove. You can't do that on a profit to loss statement. I'm not buying a business. Like a service business isn't worth to me, but maybe a 3x, a 4x multiplier on the net revenue, right? Like net, I would say not even net revenue, net profits. That would make sense, right? On a service business. But when you can prove the amount of customers, the amount of potential, that's what you're selling. I think in any business that you sell, you're selling the potential. You're not selling what it's making, you're selling what it could potentially make. And that's the reason why there's that 3 to 5x.
And in the past, when you're selling a window film company, you know, what you're probably selling is you're selling a phone number. And if there's a physical location, you're either selling the property or the lease on the property. And basically that's it, the name and the phone number. And what the person's buying is that phone number and that name recognition, and hopefully that phone rings and brings them customers. Now, I mean, if you spend time investing into your website, building traffic, that's obviously going to turn into money for your business and growth. But also when you go to sell that business, you now have a website with traffic and years of history that can be sold. And what you're saying, if I'm understanding correctly, is also the value of your customer list. You have a well-organized customer database. And, you know, these are things that go beyond just selling a phone number now. You're building more equity in your business. And then that can translate either at the time you go to sell the business, or if you think about just transitioning the business to somebody else, maybe your son or your daughter or somebody in your family, I mean, or a sale or whatever it is, or 2 employees to step further back from the business. The more systems you have in place, the more that's possible. When it's all in your head, it literally is impossible. You can't step away.
100%. 100%. That's where everything's going, guys. Think of it this way. Every major corporation, every business, even at a franchise level, right? And more importantly, at a franchise level, because that's who you compete with on a day-to-day basis, right? If every tint world opened up down the street from a tint shop, their organization level is actually really, really high. They have systems in place to be able, that's part of the reason, that's the advantage that you get, is they have a built-in CRM. They have all of this stuff in place. There's a reason for that, because the foresight is, you know what, this is going to continue to grow. We're seeing the window film industry growing at a 20% incremental rate year over year over year over year over the last, you know, I'd say 15 to 20 years. So if that's the case, why aren't you doing the same thing? If every company has Salesforce, and they, especially these bigger companies that are, you know, say franchise, so on and so forth, if they're doing it, you're going to be behind the ball. It's the same thing when Yelp first came out. When Yelp first came out, it's absolutely free. There was no cost associated with it. The early adopters were able to capture all those reviews and capture all of that juice per se for such a low cost. So in terms of real estate, that low cost is worth something. So do it now. Like it, look, especially like you're saying, as far as the CRM, I think it's absolutely important to give you guys real numbers, like really what I did. I went as a one-man op, first year, never in business, just opened the doors. Following these exact steps, I was able to do about $186,000 net, right? It's not bad for a one-man operation solely doing residential commercial. How I feel about that. The second year, we did just over $384,000. This year alone, I'm going to crush that. And then we have this landed within the first couple months, right? Like January, February. So we have some larger projects going in. I can't imagine what's going to be 10 years from now, and the data that we're going to have to actually be able to continue to market to the existing customers, their friends, their family, and even the lookalike audiences that are similar to what they do. So if you guys have any questions, need any advice, I guess just leave it in the comments below. Let Eric and I kind of know what you guys are wanting. I know that we have about 12 minutes. Yeah. Um, I know that we have about 12 minutes left. So ultimately, I think a good system, like Eric has said in the past, is going to beat any great person at the end of the day. Even a bad system is going to do a really good job because somebody can actually follow those steps. If you're not giving somebody the road to that, it's very hard for them to say like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do. There's a reason why handbooks exist within corporations. You follow that handbook, you follow those procedures. That's all it is. It's just a collective of people going towards one goal. Put that
Right.
all into a system, and you're going to be a lot more successful ultimately. And you can hold that level of responsibility as it grows. That's what I have. I mean, as far as like if
Yeah.
you're getting started, I think that's a lot to unpack. I think that's a lot to kind of consider. I can't stress enough like how much a good website and a well presentable website is also very, very important. So if you have an outdated website, organizing that and continuing to post blogs, like this was an advice that Eric had given me. I never really saw the value, like the idea behind the idea behind. Give me one sec, guys.
It's getting rowdy over there, huh? The Cowboys?
It's getting a little rowdy. It's a little. Give me one sec, guys. Um,
No
so
rush.
yeah, sorry about that, man. Where was I at? I just kind of lost
So you're
my
saying
lost my head.
the value of a website. What first of all, and blogs. What would you say when you said the value of a website and how important it is? Um, if somebody has
If
an
you
old, outdated website, what should they expect? What's their first step? What should they expect to spend? What do they need to do to take
if
advantage of
you're a
the
resident
website?
if you're a residential customer, or if you're only doing residential and commercial, for example, I would say that is your storefront.
Sure.
100%. So spend as much money as you fit. Like most people are going to spend anywhere between 2,000 upwards of $5,000 on a location. So, you know, if you're only having to do that once, it's 1,000% worth it. So invest into a really good website. What does that mean to you? Ultimately, one that's well read, that explains your product, feature, benefit, a way to get this customer to leave their information. We use, again, and I'm not trying to feed this down you guys' throat, but ultimately it's a system that works and that's been effective, and I'm gonna only share what's working for me. So we embed, and you can visit the website, it's rcwindowfilms.com. So we embed Tint Wiz's lead generation form. And I've kind of worked with it a little bit. So what I did is I did first name, last name, email, phone number, type of service. I put a lot of information that I wanted because I thought it would make my job easier. The unfortunate part is it's not about me and it's not about us as business owners. It's about the customer and what they're willing to share. I don't want to give away my email, so why do I expect everybody else to just give it away freely? And then I would say, so limit that to name, phone number, email. That's it. Nothing additional. Message. Tell me what you're looking for. Maybe I can help you answer any sort of question. So keep it very basic. Second would be to respond as immediately as possible. The quicker you respond, the quicker you're ahead of the game. So
Mm-hmm.
a way to contact you and then contact your customers right away. I don't care what time it is. Like Eric has mentioned, I believe on a previous podcast was, how nice is it when you get an immediate response? Like if somebody hit me up right now, like I would take it and I would respond to them. It's just what I would do. I can't tell you how many times a customer goes, wow, that was fast. Thank you
Mm-hmm.
so much. Yeah,
That's
because
one of
it's
those things
on their
people just don't
mind.
know. They just don't know what they're missing, and if they're going through their emails at the end of the day or the beginning of the day the next day, and they're not getting great results, I mean, you can't
It's an
but
after.
wonder.
It's an afterthought. It's an
Right.
afterthought for the customer. They're kind of like whatever. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, to put it bluntly, put it like this: if your spouse, loved one, sends you a text message at 8 o'clock in the morning, and you respond at 9, what are you telling 9 p.m. Right? What are you
Right.
telling them? You don't value their
Right.
time. You don't care about it. Whatever. I'll respond. That's just human nature, guys. So like I would say, like respond as quickly as possible to your customers. They're the ones putting food on your plate. Ultimately, everybody feels like when they're a business owner, they own the business, but ultimately the customer owns the business. They have the power to say we don't want to do business with you. So make it as easy of a process as possible. Build your business under that foundation of how do I solve my customer's problem? How do I do it in a nice, calm, and just awesome way that makes it so simple? and quick and efficient, like efficiency, quick and simple. If you could build your website off of that and just explain, here's what I do, here's how I do it, here's why I'm the best, here's a way to contact me, and then contact them back. It's so basic. And I realize that, like, when I'm sitting here putting out the spiel and just telling you guys, everyone already knows this. I think it's implementing it and developing a plan to implement it and then execute on that plan is the most difficult part. So if you guys could do that, and if I can continue to do that on a day-to-day basis, and I do fail at, some days I don't. Like some days I wish, kick myself in the butt and get some additional motivation, make some phone calls, get inspired, whatever it is to get you engaged, do that. And it's going to be beneficial for your business ultimately.
Yep. Because a lot of times, like you're saying, you know what you need to do. It's just the challenge is just literally doing it. I mean, everybody knows they need to go to the gym and probably need to eat more vegetables, but
I'm not eating vegetables. Yeah,
well, you're eating
100%.
potatoes.
Yeah, yep.
Fried
Idaho.
potatoes.
Idaho. Yep.
So any other points that you find, you want to communicate before we get going on this beautiful Christmas Eve?
I would say the last thing is never have a wasted conversation. What I can tell you is this. Every time we solve a problem and I find it unique, I write a blog post about it. Here's why. When people are looking for information, they revert to the written form. It doesn't matter what anybody tells you. They're going to tell you video marketing. They're going to tell you all of these things, right? But ultimately, when we have a problem, we go, I'll give you an example. We wrote a really good article. I think it was good because it populates really high on how to stop artificial turf from melting, right? So that was the title, and then I wrote about it and just kind of explained the phenomenon of artificial turf melting and why it happens. I put out this information into the world, gave it a really kind of comprehensive, hey, this is how it happens, this is what causes it, this is how to solve it, and ultimately it led to leads that if they have this happen, they Google it, they type it in, and they search how to stop my turf from melting. And then my article for free dizzle, nothing. I spent an hour of my time writing it. That article pops up, they read it, and then they call me.
Right.
So put that information into the world. If you have an issue with, say, like a back glass, I'll just wrap it up. But if you have an issue with a back glass and you know that there's a problem, you know that, hey, Tesla on these years has this problem, write it up. You're now the expert because they're reading your article, and the likelihood of them calling you and the likelihood of your page ranking high for that content is amazing. So write more, give more than anyone else, and more will come back to you. And that's like, I know it's basic, but we don't do it enough. I wish I did 10 articles a day. Like, it's just time. So again, going back to that system, how do you develop a system where not everything is on you and you can make your time as efficient and as diligent as possible to obtain that one goal that you're shooting after, which is ultimately building your business? And a good start would be Tint Wizdom CRM, follow those steps we just discussed, go back, rewind this, listen to it, absorb it, and figure out what ways you can implement it within your business.
And I think what you just mentioned, as far as like, the concept of, if you want to be found for delicious carrot cakes, you have to have a carrot cake recipe on your website. So if you want to be found for graphics or for security window film, or you want to do more frost jobs, or you're wondering why nobody's calling you for flat glass and so on, the question is, do you have the information on your website that's getting you in front of the people that are searching for it? So I think that goes back to your point of making sure you're getting the value out of your website and how important the website is. And just reevaluating it, because I think graphics is like one of those that everybody wants to grow in graphics, everybody wants to grow in deco and so on. But if you haven't touched your website in like 3 years, you probably don't have information about deco, like
the
current
newest
information
films
on there.
Yep.
Right. So getting in front of what the customers are searching, certainly in all aspects, is what you need to do.
100%. And then utilizing it in every platform that you can. If you could do more videos and embed those videos within those blog articles, awesome. If you could do the same thing with a podcast, set up your own podcast and do that, I would say it just comes down to the level of commitment that you want to have. I think we all kind of falter in that. We all kind of go, oh man, this is what I'm going to do. And then you skip a day, you skip them, whatever. I would say just hop back on the horse and do it again. Like it's
Right.
fine. Like it's okay. Just continue to put out that content. It's just going to take longer for it to provide fruit. Right. So like if you're watering a tree every single day, it's going to provide fruit a lot faster. Right. Like unless we water it once every, 6 months, it's not going to give you as much fruit. Like ultimately it's just how much work are you willing to put in? That's it. That's all I got. I mean, I'd love to do it. Yeah. Go ahead.
You said you'd love to do another hour?
Yeah, man, I would. We got 3 minutes here, but no, I'd love to jump on more and discuss like any questions, comments, advice, requests. I'd love to continue the conversation and like help you guys as much as possible from the experience that I have. And honestly, just learn from you guys and what you guys. If you've heard anything in here that you want to, provide additional information on, provide your own opinion on, I'd love to hear it. I'm
For
sure Eric would love to hear it and kind of get that feedback, because I think everybody's perspective is important. And ultimately, when you hear those perspectives, you can come up with a way more comprehensive response and a plan to execute your own strategy when you know where everybody else sits. Seek first to understand, then to be understood, ultimately.
Yep. And and that's what this is all about. Like you said, everybody sharing their experiences, and, that's been going on obviously in Facebook groups, that goes on, in person, but this is a way that we can bring people from across the world, share experiences. And I know that shared information just kind of moves things along faster, better, more efficiently. And that's why I really mean it when I say thank you for being so generous with your information. And anybody who wants to hear more what Max has to say, join or watch Tint Wizdom in the future, because he'll be back. But what I mean to say is watch RC, or you can check out the RC Window Films podcast and Tint Talks, both on iTunes. And
awesome. Thanks, man.
Jumping into the comments real quick, Robbie mentioned, this is great. I'm shocked and then he put in parentheses, being kind of new, that so many more don't watch this, never know what is out there to learn. Well, Robbie, I agree. More people should watch this. You can tag everybody you know and suggest they watch this. And, it really is what this is about, is sharing that information, because when everybody puts their heads together, it really does lead to better results. And with that said, Thursday we'll be joined with Matt Sand here from Naples Tint Company. I especially am excited. Yeah, you know Matt, right?
Yeah, good dude.
And what's exciting about this Thursday is I want to discuss a point that I feel is an expert on, which is how to sell $500 or $600 car tint jobs and flat glass tint jobs in South Florida, land of up to $99 to tint your car. So this is someone who,
I like it.
He moved to South Florida only 3-4 years ago, somewhere there from Pennsylvania, and so he was in a new state, a very competitive part of the state. And he's been able to not only succeed, but thrive. So interested to hear how he's got over those, $69 full tint jobs and so on that his competition's offering.
It's amazing, man. It's stuff like that that honestly just kind of continues to propel the industry. So love it, man. I can't wait to hear it.
Cool. Well, thank you again, Max, for your time, and safe driving. And I'm very excited to hear more about how this goes from the camper van and so on. So we'll definitely see you very soon.
Absolutely. Awesome, cool. Man. Take care. Thanks, Eric. Bye.
Merry Christmas Eve to everyone. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you on Thursday.
Merry Christmas.